Hello and welcome to this evening's version of Mapping It Out, where we go behind the scenes of the amazing battlemap editor and Project Deios from Dungeon Fog. And if you can hear me, please let me know what my volume is like. Are there echoes everywhere, or are there not? We are still working on those gremlins. Nothing makes sense anymore, I tell you. Anyway, tonight we are looking at some pretty new additions to the battlemap editor and get some updates on Deios, as you can expect. We're also going to talk about the holidays which are coming up. If you have anything to do with the schooling system, you'll know that the summer holidays are here, and that has major implications for development progress as well. Right, if you have any questions, please put the word question in caps in front of your question in the chat so that I can see it, and I will dutifully ask it to whomever I possibly can. Brandon says that there are echoes as usual. All right, I want to try something. I want to try an experiment which would make no sense whatsoever, but let us try this. I will be doing my Princess Leia impersonation. But if I do this, is the echo still there? Because it seems like it might not be. And that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But there we go. Who knows? Modern day technology. We're talking AI. We're talking all sorts of cool and wonderful things tonight. So stick with us. And let's get the man who is always with us, bringing us the latest goodies, news, tips, ideas, tricks, and progress. And let's bring in Till. Hello, Till. How are you doing? Yes, that's right. That's right. Glad to have you back up and running. It does sound like sickness has been doing the rounds, I must admit. And it seems to be global, as a matter of fact. I had a lot of friends go down. You go, but it's summer. Surely everyone should be healthy, right? Well, not if you're having the summer that we're having. Oh. Ah. You're muted. Apparently you're muted. Sorry, I'm interrupting you, but apparently you're muted. We've been fighting all evening to get this technical right. We're like, okay, is it right? Yes, I think it's right. Everything is right. The TikToks is all working. Everything is working. I can hear Till, but nobody else can.
Okay,
Dear, oh dear.
there you go. Now you should be hearing me. Let's see if chat can hear me now.
See what chat has to say. We've got 13 seconds to wait for chat to tell us whether
Yeah,
they can hear you or not. So it's like, answer us now, damn it. Well, they will when they get there. Anyway, right. So hopefully that will sort out that. Apparently my echo still hasn't gone, even though I put on the headphones. So at least that means that I'm not going insane, and that me wearing headphones prevents your computer from creating an echo. But
Yeah,
anyway.
it's weird. I don't know where the echo's coming from.
All right, Till is back. I think
Okay.
that's what Brandon is saying.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Good. Right, so Till,
Yes.
we are talking about the battle map editor. We've got some shiny new assets to show off. As a matter of fact, we've got, what did you say, 7,000 new assets or something?
Oh, in total, it's probably more. In total, we're probably around 8,500 new assets.
Okay,
Since
all right.
we had our last mapping it out, which is amazing.
Right. So just a few that have been added. Just in case you were missing coloured broom number 53. Let's talk battlemap editor. Let's talk assets. But before we get there, let's just have a look at the roadmap moving forward. So
Yes,
let's have
sir.
a look at general company news,
Exactly.
as they call it. And so a lot of sickness that's debilitated.
Yeah, unfortunately, we had to fight with a lot of sickness. In Well, in June, basically, we had Sylvie got sick, we had Andy got sick, we had Herbert and Thomas both had a sick leave, and then, as I mutedly told you beforehand, I had to go on a sick leave too. So it was rough. It was a rough month in terms of progress because, generally speaking, like everyone was sick at some point, and then when you have a small team where everyone's dependent on someone, if someone falls kind of off the ladder, suddenly things start to clog up, and people are waiting. But that doesn't mean that we didn't do any progress. It just means that it was a lot slower, and there are a couple of things happening at the background, which are, I think, apart from the fact that we got delayed a bit through sicknesses, are progressing nicely. Like, for example, Andy has been transitioning over to starting with the foundations for the V6 prototype, and he's currently kind of building a framework for it. So there is a nice progress going forward. Nothing to show at the moment. It's basically just laying the foundations. Sylvie made good progress with the transformation from the assets in the asset manager and the asset service into a format that Deios can read. So basically, our server side can already handle the Deios assets. Now the next step is to have Ilya take them and kind of build the bridge, the connection, the API between the desktop application and the asset service to collect those assets. So we made nice progress there. Herbert and Thomas are currently working on the unification of accounts because we still have those Deios accounts that are separated from the battlemap accounts. And our goal is to merge them into one global Deios account that gives you access to all the things like the asset manager, Deios, battlemaps, and whatever comes next. So that is making progress too. But again, unfortunately, with a lot of sick leaves in June, it was not as productive as we would have hoped for. And there is currently nothing on the immediate release schedule that I can kind of teaser here and today. It's just work. So for the battlemap editor, we released version 13.5, which included bug fixes, and then the AI generate version 14, which is now live. So you can now use, as a premium member, you can now use our ChatGPT integration to generate your own read aloud notes. So that has gone live in June. But there is for July and August. Well, let's not get ahead. Maybe there's something happening in August. I don't know. I don't fully know yet. But at least for July, there's nothing going to be on the battlemap front that we have as a patch that we can hand out. Same goes for the asset manager. The asset manager. So we have quite a long list of feedback, thanks to you guys, that we have collected on improvements that we want to include in the asset manager in the next version. And this is one of the things that's actually sitting on our table and waiting for Andy to be free to address. So this might be an August thing. But again, for July, it's not going to happen because we actually need to kind of sift through all the priorities, make sure that we understand what implies, what has implications on what. So there is the only thing in regards to the asset manager that is substantial, although I do not know if it is going to be part of a July release yet, is the Deios integration. Because as I said before, we want to make sure that whatever we have in the asset manager is then actually delivered to Project Deios as the desktop application, and the backend and the server and the transformation scripts that turn those assets into readable files for the Deios application. All that is set up. It's just that we need to actually then work on Deios to receive those assets and make sure that permission systems and all that stuff work out. once that is done, that actually allows us to publish asset packs outside of our patches. So whenever we publish a pack to the asset manager, Deios can receive it, and we don't have to patch them through kind of, let's call them physical patches that you have to download and install. We can do that outside of the loop. And it also means that this is then the point where we can actually, with a proper permission system, can have all those remaining world map assets that are still sitting on our end, have them available because some of them are actually permission bound, and have them delivered to you at that point. So that's happening too. But again, for July, we don't see anything happening that might include a patch for the asset manager. So the only thing that will see a patch in July, and most likely, like, let's talk about the when after the what. So what is going to happen is we're going to look at the new pack that we have, which is the Desert Cities.
Very exciting. Stick around for that.
Really nice one. And alongside with that, some improvements to building placement and randomizations, based on feedback that we got, based on some experience that we collected when creating those maps, and based on refactoring our code and finding a bug in there that wasn't intended to be in there, but no one noticed. And then we ran across it and said, oh, interesting. Either way, the Desert Cities pack is technically finished. It needs to be reviewed. I hope that I can finish my reviews by tomorrow, and that would allow us to hand it out until Friday. If not, it will have to be released at the end of July, because we have team vacations coming up where Ilya is not going to be around, and is not able to do that until like mid to end of July. So we will see. Again, it's summertime and vacations are coming up, so it's a bit of a planning nightmare at the moment. But that's what's coming, and I can guarantee that it's hitting the auto updater in July. At the moment, I don't know if it's going to be this week or 14 days after that.
For sure. Okay. Well, that's it is summer holidays. Everybody deserves a break, and hopefully everyone gets a great break. Yes, unless you're in England, because then you get rain and more rain and more rain.
Well, honestly,
we had one week of summer, and that was it.
I wouldn't concern some rain. I would actually appreciate some rain here because it's dry and hot in Austria at the moment.
Well, there you are. Okay, let's jump into talking about those 8,500 assets, because it's going to take us a while. I'm joking, of course. You've got some new assets, you've got some new creators. Let's talk about them. And then, of course, we're going to go and find some maps to talk about as well. So, with assets, talk to us. Let's start with Dungeon Fog's new asset pack.
Yes. So we continued our, let's call it our castle theme. And we have released the second, and it's not going to be the last one, the second addition to our castle packs, which is the Castle Courtyard, which I think combines really nicely with the previous one, which was Castle 2024, I think it was called, which was mainly focusing on the battlements, the walls, and the crenellations. So now we said, okay, now that you can create the basically the fortifications of a castle, how do you decorate it? How do you create the insides of it? And we might be actually taking kind of the scenic tour from going over the walls, into the courtyard, then into the entrance, the hall room, and so on and so forth. So you might be expecting, so you maybe can expect something in that regards with the next pack that we're handing out. Until Tony tells us they can't see castles anymore. And then we might switch to something in between. But this pack specifically was about scenes, battle map scenes that might take place in the courtyard of a castle, in the entrance. How do you call? Do you always call them courtyards?
It's technically the inner bailey or the outer bailey.
Oh, there
Those
you
are the
go.
areas that you're talking about. The courtyard itself would actually be technically castles. They might have had a courtyard, but usually it was called a bailey.
Okay, so we might need to rename the pack then. Okay. Either way, wait, I'm slowly drifting.
You're drifting.
Here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is all about baileys. So when you look at the map, you can see there's a lot of different roofs. We're calling them decorated roofs and undecorated and whatever. There are those rounded roofs, bridge roofs. There are a lot of different stairs that you can use. We have a very nicely crumbled buildings. So if you want to have a castle ruin, there are quite a few cool buildings in there that you can use. I've just placed one in here. So you can get a feeling of what it looks like. And then there's stuff that you can put in the outer bailey with the like a little fighting pit that you can see where somewhere here.
At the bottom, and the archery
The
range,
archery
love
pit.
that.
There's stables. There are like little workshops and carts and stuff like that. Like there's a really nice new forge style prop that you can put. So generally speaking, I think people will be happy if they want to create scenes that take place in the baileys, fighting from one bailey to the next, or probably having some kind of scene that might turn into combat or might not, where the Lord comes down the stairs and greets the party, and the party's really rude and gets their ass kicked. So I think this is a really nice pack, and of course, it is also very useful if you want to create city scenes, because you have a lot of different roofs that you can combine to create some street layouts there too.
Yeah, lovely.
Yeah, but that's just us, and I think it was like if we're talking about 8,000 assets here, this pack probably just added with textures and bits and pieces, probably only added between 70 and 90 assets to that. So the big chunk came actually from somewhere else.
That's right, yes. And let's go through them. So let's start with Tom.
Yes.
Tom.
He is, if you remember, if you're following us, I have been talking about Tom Cartus, who is an amazing artist. I met at UK Games Expo last year, and we've been chatting, and I invited him to join us in the Dungeon Fog Marketplace. And at the end of last year, he then actually joined us, but then it took some time, and I didn't know how much time, because I didn't know how many assets he was talking about. But it took some time for him to set up everything, and now he has added, I think around 20 packs have been released in June from Tom Cartus. I couldn't put all those 20 packs up here, so I just picked a couple of them that are representing his style. I would highly recommend to check it out. He's a really interesting style that is a fantastic mix between hand-drawn assets and some kind of, I don't dare to say 3D, although I think it has some 3D aspect to it. So whatever he's doing it in a really cool way that gives those three-dimensional yet hand-drawn assets a completely unique style. And I'm really happy to welcome him in our Dungeon Fog Marketplace team, because this is amazing. So he added about 20 packs, and each pack contains around 300 to 400 or 200 to 400 assets in there. So if you're doing the math, Tom alone added between 6,000 and 7,000 assets to the marketplace.
Good grief.
Yeah.
I do like his style. It does look quite similar to Tony's, so it means you can put them together and that will work quite well.
I think so too. I hope, Tom, if you're watching, I've seen that you've added a bunch of assets. And again, I'm kind of under exaggerating here because a bunch is still like you added thousands of assets here, but I know that you have amazing textures too. So if you think about that, having your textures in there as well would be really cool. So we'll see. Maybe there will be some texture packs in the future. He is also, if I am correct, he's also part of the Patreon Connect service, which means that if you are a Patreon follower or supporter of his Patreon page, then you get access to all those assets automatically. All you have to do is you have to link you have to activate your Patreon Connect, your Patreon account with your Dungeon Fog account. You can do that in the settings, and that means that whenever he publishes packs to the marketplace, and you're following him or you're supporting him on Patreon, they will automatically be available to you. If you're not doing that, they're in the marketplace, and you can of course purchase them there as well. And if you're a premium member to Dungeon Fog, you get a nice little discount on the purchase as well. So I would highly recommend to check that out.
Yeah. Now, Tim, we've got a question from Drigerex.
Oh.
And it is, are these available for commercial use? What's the commercial usage license?
I don't know from the top of my head, but I think some of them have commercial licensing included. So the thing is, when an artist uploads a pack, he can decide on what he wants to do with those packs. If he wants to offer them for free, or for just premium use only, like for the battlemap editor use only, or if he wants to add that, if he wants to add a download to it as well. And there is, of course, a commercial licensing option as well, which means that if you are, if he offers that through the marketplace and he says yes, commercial, then you can see that in the marketplace. And if he decides to add this pack through Patreon Connect, then he can decide at which tier the commercial license is offered as well. So although I cannot answer this on stream right now, I would just highly recommend to go and check the marketplace. You'll find all this information in there.
Okay, perfect. Someone else who's added
yes, let's call them our usual suspects, amazing artists who have been adding to our library throughout the last, I don't know, 2 years by now, constantly, have also released new packs that I would like to feature. And that is, of course, Forgotten Adventure. Forgotten Adventure has added 2 new packs in June. And if I am not mistaken, there are a couple of new packs being reviewed at the moment. So there's even more coming. And same as with Tom, if you are a Patreon supporter of Forgotten Adventures, then all those assets are available to you depending on the support tier, which again, I don't know which tier it is. They're available to you automatically in the battlemap editor as well. And I don't know from the top of my head, I don't know the numbers, but Forgotten Adventures typically also releases packs in the hundreds of assets per pack.
Yeah, big numbers.
Yeah, big numbers. And all of them are always amazing. So check them out if you're looking for more assets. Specifically, if you're looking for dungeon decor or prefab assets, then this is your chance because that is what they have released in June. And we have Chibin Grove, who is also on a regular basis releasing new assets. And I think the adventurous assets are really cool. They came out.
Just gorgeous color, just that intensity, isn't it? I love the eyes and the skulls.
It's a very cool style. Like if you're more into the, let's call it the comic art style of map making, this is a really nice style. And Chibin has by now, I think, also probably 50 packs. I'm not sure. I'm guessing at the moment. But I regularly see new packs being released by Chibin Grove. So there's quite a nice library out there. And
my last personal favorite, just because it's so cool, in terms of contributing artists. Sorry.
Oh yeah, you want me to switch the slide?
Yes, I do, because I just love that they're so
Planet Hoppers. They're amazing, and it's not fantasy. Planet Hoppers is actually doing sci-fi stuff. So we have Planet Hoppers released 3 new packs in June that are all about, I'm not sure what to call it, tower defense or combat warfare vehicles. So the Eagle, the Liberty, and the Roughneck pack, which are really cool. And again, they are also Patreon Connect artists. So same as before. If you're following them if you're supporting them on Patreon, that is available to you automatically, or you find them in the marketplace as well.
Yeah, super cool, super cool. Definitely has nothing to do with any kind of Starship or Troopers at all.
At all, no.
Nothing. All right.
Honestly, when I was looking at it, Starship Troopers was kind of in the back of the brain, but since I've been playing Helldivers a lot, I felt like, oh, that is, I can feel my Helldivers maps being created.
Oh yes.
Here. Yeah.
Oh yes. Oh, absolutely. No, absolutely. All right, Till, let's do one of the favorite things that I love to do is let's browse the hub to find ourselves some 5 gorgeous maps to highlight this month.
Of course, sir. So, asset packs, to put an end to this, a lot of assets has been released. I'm really happy to see how the marketplace grows, and I'm very happy to see that get new artists joining, new asset packs being released. So we have a vast library. I think the number I have in my head is about 140,000 assets, 130,000 assets, something like that, being currently in the library, which is amazing. And that also helps people creating cool maps that we're going to look at now when we switch to the hub.
There we go. I see Lars has also said he's just checked. Tom Kartos does have a commercial license available. So there you go.
There you go.
All right, looking at maps. And these are the latest ones that have been uploaded to the hub. Okay?
Exactly. So for those of you, I think most of you already know what the hub is. The hub is our kind of public place, public space where you can share maps, you can create your own profile. And if you have created and designed, you can style it to some degree. Your own map making profile, you can then share those maps with the community, and even make people follow you and get notified about the latest maps that you have added, which is really nice. And we're giving you several search filters there where you can sort or search for specific maps. This filter here gives us the latest maps that have been released. And
there's already one that's caught my eye.
Yeah. I think from the last time that we checked, it was somewhere down here. I actually browsed. So we've been looking at this map. If I remember, we've been looking at, this was the castle map that I did for the latest pack. So somewhere here, we actually left in May.
Right. Yes. Now I've seen some new ones that I would vote for.
So there are approximately between, I would say, 60 to 80 new maps that have been added in the past month, which is absolutely fantastic.
Yes. Remember we looked at the swirling forest, the elvish forest.
Yeah, we've been looking at the elven forest here. And yeah, I mean, as you can see, it's a broad variety of different things. Like ships are a constant topic. I could see always some ships in there. There's a lot of forest scenes.
What's the pink one?
This one,
bottom left. Yes, it looks interesting because it's pink.
Yeah,
alien inside the worm. We've got to
have it's a digestive.
It's a tract.
Yeah.
Yes. What is inside the worm?
So
is it a vertical view?
I think it's
horizontal.
No, I think it's I would say, well, I don't know. I would say it might be top down. So you're entering somewhere probably here. You've punched your hole into the worm, and then you have to kind of explore what's going on. I would say that this might be the brain.
It does look like it. It does look like it. A cephalization of nerves is what they have. They don't actually have a central brain, but that looks great. And the assets, I can't see the assets. Where do those tendrils at the bottom, the blue ones, come from? Or the green ones, those down there?
I don't know. It looks like they are, because it looks like they're watermarked, so they might be from the marketplace. As a preview from the marketplace. Which means that, because you can do that, like you can use assets from the marketplace that you haven't purchased, but they will be watermarked. Now, if you don't care about that, or your players don't care about that, feel free to use them and put them on your map. So I guess that they might be from, if I would guess, they might be from Forgotten Adventures, probably. Yeah, that's a really cool map.
That's very fun. Using the muscular texture, which was developed for Bounty Hunter, wasn't it? That organic
That's the
muscle texture,
that's the texture that was developed for Bounty Hunter.
That's right, a long time ago. All right, lovely. Let's look at another map.
Yes. So I need to go back to the hub actually, because my browser reloaded. The latest maps. Let's go in there.
Yes.
I actually like that one.
Oh yes. What is that one?
That one is the River of Death, and I think that is a really cool map.
The River of Death.
Exactly. Okay. I'm clicking on it. It's loading up. There you go.
Oh wow. Oh, that's interesting.
It's lovely because it's a very clever use of assets in here. You can see these are actually, there are roads. There are kind of pathway roads for the grass scenes. And with the brush overlay, it actually looks like a very creepy shoreline.
Like a rift almost into this
and then
river.
You have those purples, those swirly purples, which is also really cool. I think it might be some kind of nebula texture, but I'm not sure. And the bubbles, and I think the color toning is really nice for the river.
It is that wonderful contrast of purples and then the complementaries of yellows, isn't it? It just really makes it so
amazing.
Effective.
So it was done by Cree3960, if you want to check it out.
Well,
it's a really cool map. And then you have the ferryman I've seen that's sitting there and bring you over. I think if my players would come onto this map, they would be really spooked. And it would be a hoot to have them play on that scene.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well done to them. Let's give that one a like.
Oh, I already have.
Nice. All right. Now this clock there, that white one that you've just moved over now. What is that? Is that a complicated map, or is it just the clockwork figures? It's just curious that it's got that grid around it. It's not the grid, it's actually the texture.
It's a texture, I assume. It's called the Corrupted Ancient Library Dungeon.
Okay, interesting.
It looks like you can access some kind of probably mechanic. Maybe it's something like, those solar system planet shifting things.
Yes.
In here.
Okay.
And I would guess from the color that it might be a map that has been printed, because it's much easier if you work on a white background to actually print the map.
To print it. That's a good
without killing your printer.
Yes, without ruining all of your ink.
Yeah, because typically when you play on a VTT, I see a lot of those are dark maps.
Yes.
Because you can use the fog of war, you can use the lighting, all those things are really interesting on a virtual map. But when it comes down to printing, it's less is more, and it makes sense to have them to keep a very clean map there.
There you go. So well done then to the username is
Zonder the Man.
Zonder the Man. There we go. Well done to Zonder the Man. All right, lovely.
Yeah.
Anything grab your eyes?
A couple
There's
of maps.
one that still grabs mine. Yes, that one. I've been looking at that one a lot.
Yeah, the turtle is
What
definitely.
is that?
I think we've been looking at the
We've
Rickety
looked at
Ridge
that one
last time.
Yes, we did. We didn't look at the turtle. What's the turtle, Till?
You want to see the turtle? Well,
I do.
Okay,
it's amazing.
okay. I'll
it's
click
like,
on the turtle.
what's the
It
turtle?
is amazing. It's Arcane did it. He is a regular guest in our map streams because he has a very keen eye for details and he loves to click together things like that.
So that's using the dragon turtle
from the Ghost of Saltmarsh pack that we did back in the days. And then it mixes, I think, Forgotten Adventures stuff, if I can see correctly, as well as orc stuff.
Yes, for the teeth. And
exactly. And I don't know, so many things. Like, it's really cool. I think here are teeth from the orc set.
And what I find curious is that it's not swimming in water. It looks like it's flying over the land.
I think it might be
some looks like there's dust coming off of it.
Yeah. I think it's some kind of what's this called? Mortal Engines, I think was the book series.
Yes.
So I think it's kind of a Mortal Engine thing like traveling sand dune vehicle. So my first feeling was like, oh, this is like giant cities built on creatures that move around the apocalyptic wastelands and battle things.
Very cool. Very cool. Well done, Arcane.
I already gave it my like. So
there you go. All right. That's 3. Got 2 to go. You choose. Because I've been shouting a lot.
Oh, do you want me to choose? It's really hard because there's so many amazing maps in there. I think we had a lot of overland maps. Maybe we look at the Bandit Caves.
Sure.
Mokatam.
Another good cave.
Yeah, me too.
This is by
Mokatam.
Okay. Oh yes. Are they using a hex?
Yeah, it looks like that's a hex grid. Because you can use hex grids in Dungeon Font.
Of course.
So it seems like they're playing on a hex-based game. So with a hex grid. And I do like the idea of how you blend the like you have the black, which is just it's useless information, and most VTTs would hide it anyway, because if you're playing with the line of sight tools in a VTT,
right, you would never see it. Yep.
You would never see it. But if you would be kind of projecting it or printing it or whatever you do with it, it actually, I think it's a nice feature to say, okay, this is just useless information, so we're not doing anything here, but we're giving this slight blend to
the edges,
to communicate that this is kind of the cave wall and the cave edges here. So I think
I do like the secret tunnel as well. Always like secret tunnels around the back.
Yeah. And lovely. You can see he marked they marked the entrances. So you can see this is locked, this is locked, this is hidden, this is hidden, this is hidden. So there are some features in the battlemap editor where you can do that to kind of, for you as a player or as a game master, to remind yourself what is happening here. And of course, if you're using our VTT, our map viewers directly, this information is needed so that those wouldn't actually show up for the players. And you could prevent at least some metagaming here, because they have to pretend that they do not know that there is a door, which kind of is always a problem. Suddenly you get like...
Fingers crossed that these players that encounter this map do find those secret doors, because they look like they lead to some pretty cool places.
True, yeah. Right, okay, and let's have a last one. Let's look, and I think I don't know why, but that one, oh wait, I forgot to give it my like. Where was it? I lost it. There it is. Let's give it a little heart here.
There you go. Yep, that one.
Foreign Fountain, that one speaks to me. Because I think of the coloring. I think that's really nice. Like,
that's pretty.
It's absolutely pretty, because you have those reds and yellows, and then you have that blue fountain in the center, which is just a really aesthetically pleasing picture to me.
And is that blood on the statue?
It looks like.
It
It
does
looks
look
like
like
you
it,
have
doesn't
blood
it?
on the
There's a
statue and
mystery
blood on the
going on there.
fountain.
Yeah. Very simple, but very effective, especially as you say with the color use. And this is by?
This is by Cree 3960. I think we had Cree before. I'm not sure.
Well, if that's the quality of their maps, I wouldn't be surprised. I think it's really cool. Nice use of the path, to create paths that are just slightly lighter than others. So I think really, really cool.
And
Really,
by the
really cool.
love of God, I cannot remember where this, because I think this is a Dungeon Fox statue. But I can't remember in which pack it was, because that fountain looks like it's
The
hand
one
drawn.
pouring water?
Yeah.
Must be a newer pack because it's not in the older ones.
Yeah, I honestly have to dig it out. I don't know.
It definitely looks like a Tony style.
It looks like a Tony style.
But those plants are not Tony's.
Oh yes, which those?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're from the cave pack.
Are those?
Those are the mossy rocks from the recent cave
sorry,
pack.
yes. I'm seeing it downgraded one quality level, so it looks a bit more.
Yeah.
They look more like giant flowers to me. Okay.
This might be part of one of the community packs, one of our latest ones. But I honestly, I was looking at the fountain and I was like, that's a really cool fountain. When did we publish that?
You have too many assets when you can't remember all of them.
Yeah, and I was really good at remembering all the assets for the past years, but now it's getting to a point where things are getting blurry. Because it's getting too much. So
Lovely.
Well done, amazing work, Cree. Thank you. Yeah.
And to everybody.
So for
absolutely.
you guys, if you're desperately looking for maps, if you're looking for inspiration, if you just need quickly, if you forgot to prep a map, go to the hub, check out the maps there, and please don't forget to leave a little like, so that the artists actually know that their work is appreciated.
Cannot tell you how many times the hub saved my bacon.
Yeah, me too.
It was just,
Yeah.
Anyway.
I actually had a game recently where Thomas, who's helping me to prep like for social media when we're posting maps that have been published, and I was presenting them a little village, and Thomas said like, "Wait, Till, I know that village. You didn't do that. You got that from the hub." And I was like, "Yeah, I know. I ran out of time. I wanted to do a village, but I found a really good one." And I think it was the Catfolk village. I think.
Yes, nice.
Yeah, it was a really cool village.
Yeah. Lovely.
Yeah.
All right. That brings us to the end of talking about the battle map editor. And that means that we should be talking about Project Deios. And we'll be looking at the new environment for the city map maker. Super, super cool. So let's talk Project Deios.
Yes, give me a second. I have so many windows. I actually need
All right,
to
while
find
you
the
are
right one.
checking that,
Go.
remember if you have questions, just type the word question in caps in front of your question, and then I will ask it to Till as soon as I see it. Okay, so Project Deios development news.
Project Deios development news. So let's look at the slide first. So generally speaking, just to give you a little bit of a heads up where we are in terms of development. I've already spoken at the beginning a bit about how we are currently working on the asset manager integration, like the asset service integration. So I'm not going to talk about that again. But generally speaking, like the wireframe that we're currently operating in is we are in the process of bringing over everything we did for the city map maker that makes sense back into the world map editor. And most of this is basically just taking what we did, bringing it over, making sure that it is compatible with the systems in the world map editor, and just doing things there. And in terms of progress, I think we're doing a good progress there. I think we're on track with things. As expected, when you bring something over, suddenly something else breaks, and you're like, oh, that's not working anymore. So the recent hiccup we ran into, it wasn't completely unexpected, but it was harder to fix than we anticipated. was we really enjoyed the art style of landmasses in the City Map Maker. So when you draw a landmass, we have this hand-drawn coastline that surrounds the landmass, that automatically encompasses the landmass and gives it a very artsy style. So we said, oh yeah, that's a must. We must bring this over. But when we brought it over, we realized that it is working beautifully to some extent, but coastlines on a world map are much more intricate and much more finicky because they have more nooks and crannies in there. And that doesn't work super well with the pathing that we have. So we had to go back and say, okay, we actually need to change the way that we render those onto it. So that is something that Ilya is currently working on. And the second thing was that the rivers, when a river bleeds into the ocean, we had a really nice, neat system where the river coastline automatically kind of transitioned. Now with having a path that's automatically drawn around, that doesn't work anymore. And that has been giving us some headaches because more or less we've been looking at 3 different solutions, but we can't really figure out which one is the best solution. So we actually had to prototype all of them and then compare them, which is actually also happening at the moment. But once that is done, actually the whole landmass creation is completed. The textures are already in there, so we don't have to colorize maps by just purely color anymore. You can use the textures for that. The paths are already in there, so we've updated our pathing tools, so you can actually, excuse me, you can actually now use different path styles if you want to have dotted or dashed lines to connect cities, if you want to have some kind of walls, borders that you want to create around a certain region of the map. So all of that's over already. Let's say the big 2 at the moment are is the whole landmass and river thing, which we're currently just trying to figure out the best way to approach. There's a couple of lighting, like global lighting, like the sunlight, the clouds, all those things we want to transition over as well. And then we might be looking at experimenting primarily at how do we work with shadows on a world map. I don't think that they work, but we said we're going to test them. There might be, Ilya proposed ideas of kind of occlusion lights that you can put to change the general lighting theme of certain areas, which is not a light effect per se, but it's a color hue effect that you can apply to certain areas, which would be interesting again. So that is something for kind of the next milestone, internal milestone. Right now, we're trying to figure out how we fix our coastlines. So all in all, it's just work that's happening, and Ilya gave me an initial estimate where he said it's probably between 6 and 8 weeks until everything is transitioned over. Now with a couple of sick leaves, that might be a bit longer. But generally speaking, our time frame, we're looking at having the new build for the world map editor ready in September. Hopefully, maybe in August. We don't know, but I think with testing and QA, September is more realistic.
All right. Well, that was the update. But even given all of those delays and challenges with river mouths and such like, we have added a whole new pack and a whole new style.
Yes, because that is actually happening. Like that is happening always alongside the whole development. Because when we're talking about teams, we have the development team who's working on features and bug fixing, and then there's the art team that's working on creating new asset packs, and we are still in the process of filling our city map editor up with assets. until
Absolutely.
we have a nice baseline of different asset packs. And one is finished and is going to be released as we see here within July. The next one is already work in progress. I can already speak about the one that's following the desert cities, and that's called Special Buildings, which will be about, let's say, sorry, you're not like what's the consent on, you don't say races anymore, you say
Species.
Yeah, on buildings that are typical to certain species in a fantasy world. So we're working on dwarven architecture, we're working on elven architecture, we're working on orcish or goblin or gnomish mecha architecture. And as with all those things, the artists have to find their kind of the way into it. So we're experimenting
Yes.
with a couple of buildings there. And I'm really curious to get your feedback once we release them on how you like them, what you like better, what you would like to see change. Because once we have a good understanding on how a hand-drawn top-down representation of a dwarven church is, like a temple or whatever, then we can say, okay, now we have a good feeling on how does dwarven architecture look like, and then we can do specific packs for specific species.
Yes. Lovely.
Then rather
Very
just
exciting.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's also a very exciting process from the creative part, because you sit down and you think like, okay, what's elven? Well, okay, you might think of those white ebony how do you call them, pagodas and stuff like that, and you're like, oh yeah, that's beautiful, Lord of the Rings, we want to do something like that. And then you go like, yeah, but how does it look top down? And suddenly it's just, well, that looks like a spider web.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay, that's not working, so what can we do differently? So it's a really fascinating process to actually wrap your head around the aesthetics. Yeah.
Well, I think having looked at the Desert Pack assets, I think you guys are doing a pretty good job of wrapping your head around what do these things look like from the top. Let's have a look at the
Thank you very much.
120 plus new assets that you've added just for the desert upgrade.
So this is basically the lineup of all the assets that have been added. They're a bit small here on stream to see. It starts with components, because we always want to hand out the single components to you. If you love the detail and you want to put a carpet on this roof and you want to, I don't know, put a canopy on that one, then you're welcome to do so. We're giving you the components as well. But generally speaking, we've also taken all those components and combined them into different preset buildings that you can then use to actually populate your city. And the way that it looks could be something like that then.
Just gorgeous, isn't it? Absolutely gorgeous. And those white roads, that light path that you introduced, really does work here.
It works super nice. Yeah.
Beautifully. Yeah.
Yeah. Also the shadows. Like if you turn off the shadows, it suddenly loses so much. And we've seen a couple of maps that have been shared on our Discord where people probably didn't know that there is a cool shadow system. So one of the changes for the next release is that we'll actually turn on the shadows and the sunlight per default, and you have them active per default, but you can of course turn them off. But I think it will help. And
I don't think anyone would complain.
We'll see. And again, it's that's why we have a Discord. That's why we're talking to you guys. Is if you give us the feedback that you want us to turn it back off, then there you go. Then we will do that. Generally speaking, it is a default setting. So if you turn it off, it will stay off. It's just a question of what's the easiest entry point to learn the tool. How do we present those tools for the first time user? And then they can adjust their settings by themselves. Yeah, and I think, again, if you look at it, because the challenge is you can't do those buildings too big, because that doesn't work. Like in comparison to those houses, we already went up a notch to make those bigger. Which is still fine, I think, because if you compare the roof size of this to the kind of top roof size of this, it's still kind of in the same league. But you need to have a certain size to have details like this clothing line here, or the carpets, or the baskets with fruits in there, until it gets completely useless, because it's just a pixel mesh if we go smaller, or we're in a battle map if we go bigger. So that was a big challenge for us to actually figure out the right scaling.
Absolutely. Well, I think it works really well. And if you compare that to the other maps that you've done, you go, this is definitely an arid climate. This is a hot climate. This is somewhere where plate mail is not going to be your ally.
Yes.
I think, just really, really cool. And the shadows being automatic, again, I think that's really good idea too. So the next one you say is species specific buildings. Is that
exactly
correct?
It's going to be a smaller pack. So here we're looking at, again, what was the number?
120 plus.
Yeah, plus. I think it's 122 or something like that. The next one is going to be a much smaller pack, because the artist already said it's much more research work. It's much more experimenting. And Debbie is really just playing around, learning the basics of the structure. So she said it's going to be probably something like a 20 to 30 asset pack that she gives to me, where I then look at those assets. I get them as open files. And I can say, okay, I would like to do a combination of this and this. So for example, the way that you see different roof types here is actually something like a collaboration where she gave me buildings with one style, and then I colored and mixed and combined them to create different variations of it, to have just a bigger library of things that you can use. Yeah. So even though she might just hand me about 20 or 30 assets, I might still be able to make that around 50 probably. We'll see. But that is the next one coming up. It is, so I know that she has a long, like her vacation is coming up. She's going to the United States for a couple of weeks. So this might be an end of August thing then to hand it out.
Fantastic. Well, speaking of the end of August,
yes,
there will be no mapping it out for July, as everyone will be on holiday. There will also be no mapping it out for August, but we will be back in mid-September for a doozy of a show, hopefully, where we look at all of these cool things and get a major update on all of the development that's been going on. It's going to be super, super exciting. So if you are going on a holiday break over the next few weeks, I wish you and yours the happiest time possible, and hopefully you get some good R&R. And I say that also to the entire Dungeon Fog team.
Thank you very much. I think it is very much needed. I can hear the whispers that are like, I need a break. I need vacation. When can we put our feet into the ocean and just relax for a couple of weeks? And yeah, we're all looking forward to some well-deserved relaxation time before we then push into, I hope, a really amazing late summer and fall.
There we go. And of course, you can always join the conversation happening on discord.gg/dungeonfog, and you can liaise directly with the developers when they're not on holiday, and everybody else who enjoys using the software, and help one another out, get inspiration, learn from each other, inspire one another, and, well, just generally have a ball of fun. And so, yes, is there any final words, Till?
From my side, I just want to wish everyone, hopefully, good vacations, a nice summer. Again, apologies for the bad timing, but it's vacation time in July and August.
Happens every year.
Yeah, where we just can't fit in a stream. We're going to see each other, therefore, in September. It's going to be earlier than regular. It's going to be, I think, the 18th, we said. So we're going to see each other in the next Mapping It Out on September 18th. And until then, all I can say is happy map making.
It's just waiting. I was waiting, and you.
I saw you. I saw you ready to pounce. So I was
September. Well, actually, Joe Rama's got a very good question.
Yes.
Where can I get my Mapping It Out fix in the interim? Why don't you go and watch one of the very first Mapping It Outs that we did all those years ago, so you can take a walk down nostalgia lane and see just how far along we've come. Anyway,
and
all right.
Of course, go to Discord. People are posting maps. People are discussing strategies, tactics, ways how to create their maps.
Exactly.
Give tips and advice. So if you get a fix there, that's great. And otherwise, in September we will be back, and you'll get your next Mapping It Out then.
Fix. All right. Goodbye.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good summer. Goodbye.